In this lecture, we will cover a very important portion, that is data warehousing and OLAP, or online analytical processing. And this portion will complete your introductory part according to your syllabus. And these are the topics which we are going to cover up. And in this lecture again will be divided into two parts. Fine. So in the first lecture, we will cover up the first three portions, that is basic concepts, data cube and OLAP, and some design and usage. Okay, and we will cover the rest in the next lecture. Okay, so let us begin. So what is a data warehouse? So you will be you have to know the difference. What is the difference between a database and a data warehouse? Using a database, okay, we used to store some data in some systematic manner in database. Fine, everything is fine there. But we have seen that only that conventional type of database is not enough to handle our data. Fine. So here we will focus on the concept of data warehouse. It is definitely a storage of data. It is going to store huge amount of data, and along with that it is having some properties, right? It maintains some properties. First one is subject oriented, next is integrated, third is time variant, and last is non-volatile, right? Now we are going to learn what is subject oriented, what is integrated, what is time variant, and what is non-volatile. I think from the name itself you can guess something, but still we are going to focus on each one of this term, and it's a very important part if you have to define a data warehouse properly, or rather if you have to build one data warehouse and you have to maintain these properties. Definitely have to maintain this one. Okay, now if we have first focus on our first property, that is what is subject oriented, you have to maintain the data warehouse in such a fashion that you can definitely say, okay, this data warehouse is based on this subject. That means you can see here we are organizing our data warehouse or our data area into different subjects such as customer, product, sales. That means rather think it in a very layman's concept. Okay, say we are maintaining three different register notebook. Fine. In one registered book we are maintaining the details of the customer, in other we are maintaining the details of the product, and in the other we are maintaining the details of the sales. Now if we keep some data about customer along with some data about product along with some data of sales in any one of the book, and we are not maintaining this organization properly, okay, we are just mixing it. So will it be fruitful enough? No. Whenever if we try to search some details about customer or products or sales, if it has not been maintained separately, or if it has not been maintained systematically, then we are going to face problem when we need that data during our execution. So it should be subject oriented, right? Now data warehouse always provides a simple and concise view around particular subject issues by excluding data that are not useful in the decision support process. So I am not going to explain this point repeatedly. We have already seen different tools already. We have learned about different tools which is going to filter us, or which is going to filter the required amount of data, or rather say important data, and discard the data which is not important. We have learned about the tools as well, how to filter the data, how to clean the data before storing it into the data warehouse. We are knowledgeable enough, right? Fine. So if we have to focus on the next property now, what is integrated, again I don't think it needs re-explanation, because we have already learned about the integration. Since my data warehouse is such a storage area which is going to collect data from different sources, so we have learned that it needs to integrate the data. right? So we have learned that it should have the same type of naming concept, it should have the attribute measurement, right? It should have a consistency, it should follow a proper scaling, right? So we have learned all these things. So whenever we are going to integrate data from different sources, the data from different sources can be of different types. It can, some source can provide the data in form of relational database, some can be data of online transaction records, some can be anything. So whatever we are going to store in a data warehouse, before storing it we need to integrate those properly, maintaining or rather using different kinds of tools that we have seen. We have to maintain in everything in such a form so that whenever we are storing the data collected from different areas into a particular place, it should be systematic one, it should have the same kind of nomenclature, right? Okay. Now if we have to focus in this third property, that is time variant, fine. We have seen some operational database which works on current value. Let us say if we are fetching if we are trying to fetch the total rather say average salary of a particular department, so we are going to work on this current database, which means about the that we are going to use those data, or rather the data of those employees who are working in that particular department now, right? So you can see that we whatever the transaction functions or whatever the query we want to fetch from the database, it always works on the operational database. But there there should be a storage house which is going to store my historical data, right? All the whatever the available data were there, that is going to get stored at one place, and that is the job of the data warehouse. That is why it is time variant, right? It is going to store data, historic data, and it will depend on the whatever protocol a company is following, right? Whether they are going to store past 50 years data or whether they are going to store for past 10 years data, that is different thing. We can see we can, if we just have to explain this in very layman's language, let us say we have say a collection of 100 pens, right? And we used to carry 3 pens of 3 different colors regularly in our bag. So whatever the that 3 pens can fulfill my purpose, right? Now if some emergency situation occurs when I need a pen of a different ink rather than these 3 pens, or if I need some other kind of, say I am right now I'm using 3 gel pen, but I am in a need of fountain pen now, so we can consult my storage where the pens are there. From there I can collect one. Okay, so that is the main job of the data warehouse. It does not work in this, it is not an operational database, but it's a storage place only. Okay, directly operations means if we say if we are querying something, so that query never gets directly executed with the help of the data that is stored in the data warehouse, because it will be so much time consuming, right? So data warehouse used to hold that huge amount of data. If we treat that total data area for transaction purpose, or rather say for operational purpose, so it is not going to get executed in finite amount of time, right? Or in smaller amount of time rather. So we have to maintain this operational area and non-operational area or storage area in 2 different ways. So whatever the operational area is, or whatever the data we are using for the operational purpose, that is going to store, that is the job of the operational database, and my data warehouse is going to store my historical data, definitely in a systematical form. Fine. Now if we have to define this, the last property, that is what is non-volatile. We know the meaning of non-volatile. Okay, right. So here on this operational update of data does not occur in the data warehouse environment. So we know that since my data warehouse is not the operational database, so whatever updation is going to occur at the operational database, it is not going to occur in the data warehouse environment as well. Okay. and it requires two operations in data accessing, that is initial loading of data and access of data. Okay, so these two operations are possible. So initially the data will be loaded and the access of data should be there, right? So initial loading means say for a transaction or for a operational purpose we need some amount of data, so that data is we are going to fetch it from data warehouse only. Fine. So from data warehouse we are fetching a particular, or rather we are loading a particular amount or required amount of data in my operational database, and we are going to do whatever the operations we are going, that is going to get reflected in the operational database area, and after that we are going to write it back whenever the thing is needed. And that with the initial loading and first access of the data means during the creation of the operational database area, that of data warehouse is required. Otherwise we are not going to directly communicate with the data warehouse, and it should be non-volatile definitely. Okay, fine. So if we have to define OLTP and OLAP, and better to say OLTP is what? Online transaction processing. Okay, and this is online analytical processing. So online transaction processing will always means it is a job of the OLTP to focus on this operational database to do with transactional purpose, means the database which is in working condition, or the database with using which we are operating. Okay, and using it for operation. And OLAP, it is mainly data warehouse. If we have to say in one word what is OLAP, it is nothing but data warehouse. Okay, so you can see there are some differences. Say for the function, if we focus on function, OLTP is used for day-to-day operations. Okay, and this is decision support. So whenever we want to gain some knowledge about the data, we are going to use OLAP, because it consists of huge amount of data. We can debug some knowledge out of it, right? So it is going to provide us with the decision support system. If we have to build up some decision support system, then OLAP is required. But whenever online transaction processing or online operations or database operations it is going on for operational purpose, we are going to use OLTP. Okay, you can see here the database size will definitely going to get very huge amount, right? So if we have to if we just see the data, OLTP is going to store current data, up to date data that is detailed, right? And OLAP is going to store historical, summarized, multidimensional, integrated, consolidated, and all. Fine, this kind of data OLAP is going to hold. So this is the basic difference. You may go through each one of the point, and you can just understand the basic difference between OLAP and OLTP from this slide only. Now, what is the need of a separate data warehouse? So here you can see, if we have to focus on this two things, that is OLTP and OLAP, we have seen this OLTP is mainly for DBMS, it is tuned for DBMS, and data warehouse is tuned for OLAP. Okay, so I have already told you OLTP mainly focuses on this concurrency control recovery, means whatever the database operations we have learned so far, and data warehouse is for complex queries, multidimensional view, for decision support, for having some or debugging some knowledge about the data. Okay, so data warehouse will serve with those purpose. Fine, so there are different functions and different data, and we have seen what is missing data, and we have seen some techniques to come up with, to guess what can be the missing data. There is one function called data consolidation, and that means consolidation means this decision support may require aggregation, summarization. Why? Because we know that this data warehouse, or rather OLAP, works on the principle of integration, or integrating data received from different sources. So data that OLAP or warehouse is receiving from different sources is definitely going to vary in different manners, right? So it is going to be heterogeneous. So that's why this aggregation, summarization are an essential part. Then data quality. we have learnt various properties on the quality of data, that how we are going to classify some data is having quality and some data is not having the quality, that some data is lacking the quality, right? So we have learnt it, and so that's why a separate data warehouse is required, because if you make this that on, or rather operational database, a total data warehouse, okay. So if you are using the data warehouse as an operational area, so it is impossible to maintain. Okay, so better to store all the data of a particular, it should be subject oriented definitely, at one place, and make the operational part different from it, so it will work. Definitely it is going to it holds a better meaning, right, rather to use the total data warehouse in transactional purpose or operational purpose. Now if we have to see this multi-tier architecture of data warehouse, it's a 3-tier architecture, and better to say 4-tier, right? So multi-tier is working in this fashion. There can be data sources, you can see here, and data sources can be different things. It can be operational database, it can be some transactional data, it can be some flat files and all, and from there, whenever we are integrating the data received from different sources to store the data to my data warehouse, you can see here it is going to do some operations with the data received from different sources, then only it will be stored in the data warehouse only, right? So it is extracting, transforming, loading, refreshing. So we have learned how to clean the data, so that will everything will be covered under this. Okay, now you can see it is being fed to the data warehouse, right? Now data marts are doing what? So if the data marts are there, so it will depend on a particular data marts can hold a particular type of data, so there can be n number of data marts. So based on the whatever the what is the subject of each data mart is, so it is going to hold those kind of data. Okay, now see, it can directly communicate with the OLAP servers, right? So it is the data warehouse basically does everything with the OLAP server or OLAP engine, right? So online analytical process, so whatever the analytical processing my data warehouse can do, it is going to get communicate with the OLAP server only. And this, from using this data warehouse, we can come up with some reports. We can do data, after data mining we can come up with some knowledge from the whatever my data is, means what my data warehouse is storing, what is the purpose of the data warehouse actually. Okay, now if we see these 3 models, that is enterprise warehouse, data mart and virtual warehouse. Enterprise warehouse, it collects all of the information about subjects spanning the entire organization. Data mart is a subset of corporate wide data that is of value to a specific group of users. Its scope is confined to specific selected groups, such as marketing of data mart. Okay, so it can be independent and it can be dependent as well. Independent means we have built up a data mart using some data of the data warehouse, and everything can be done with the help of the data mart. And there can be some dependent data mart as well, which is directly being means from the data warehouse itself. I am just using that portion as, and just virtually thinking that okay, this portion is this portion is responsible for this data mart. Okay, so that is dependent. And then virtual warehouse it's a set of views over operational database. Nothing, just think of the creation of view. If you just remember whatever we have learnt in database, sometimes we used to create view of some tables. Okay, does view actually retains in the database? No, just for the purpose to solve the purpose for that runtime, we used to create a view. Just we can create a view of a table, and it's a just virtual representation of whatever the representation we want to do, and with the help of that view we can solve our purpose, and after the operation over, the view goes off. Okay, So the same thing, the virtual warehouse is it works in the same manner as well. Okay, now if we have to define what is ETL, if you remember in the previous lecture series we were talking of ETL. It is nothing. E stands for extraction, transformation is for T, and loading is for L. Okay, so data extraction means what? You can easily understand. For integrating data from different sources, we need to extract data from multiple heterogeneous and external sources. That is the extraction. Cleaning, it will come before transforming something. We need to clean the data. We have to see whether whatever the sources whatever the data I am getting from different sources, whether it holds any meaning, whether they are maintaining a particular structure, whether they are they are following the same kind of protocol, whether they are properly scaled or not. So we are going to clean those data. And transforming means whatever the fault we have just come out of after cleaning, so we are going to do the transformation accordingly. Okay, we have to convert whatever the data we got from different sources into a particular format which my warehouse is going to follow. Okay, then loading means it is going to sort, it's going to summarize, consolidate, compute views, check integrity, build indices and partitions. So after this transformation works fine, so that means whatever the data I have collected from different sources, I have successfully converted or transformed those data into a particular form which my data warehouse is maintaining. So we can load the data, and after load we are going to refresh it, and it is going to propagate the updates from the data sources to the warehouse. Okay, so here basically there are three processes. One is extraction, second is transformation, and third is loading. Okay, so before transformation we need some cleaning, and after loading we need some refreshment. Okay, so because if you just escape this refresh part, that means it is not updating properly. But still, since we are maintaining the data warehouse, we have to update it regularly. That's why we are keeping this part, that is refresh. So if we have to define ETL, so we have to define this process. Okay. Next we will see one topic, that is what is metadata repository. We know what metadata does. It is the data about data, or the information about the data, right? And it is the data refining warehouse objects. It stores what? Description of the structure of the data warehouse, right? Metadata, we know, if we can find out the metadata of a particular data, so we will know every details about the data. So if we have to maintain a metadata repository, that means using that repository we can fetch every details of the data warehouse. We can fetch every properties, or what my data warehouse is doing, what kind of data it is maintaining, every details we are going to get from the repository. Okay, so it is going to store the description of the structures of the data warehouse. What can be the structure of the data warehouse? It can be, you can say it can be schema, it can be view, it can be dimensions, it can be hierarchies. Okay, anything. Then what are the operational metadata? So this is what history of the migrated data and transformation path. Then currency of the data. Currency of the data means whether this portion is active, that is, since we are talking of operational, so there can be some active part, there can be some archived part, there can be some parched part. Okay, and monitoring information means this warehouse uses statistics, error reports, audit trails. So these are going to again it is going to get stored in the metadata repository. Okay, then what can be other properties, or what can be anything that my metadata repository can store? It can store algorithms used for summarization. Can you see that it is going to store every details of the data warehouse working principle? Okay, that means it is going to describe us with the structure, what my data warehouse is using, operational point of view, then it is pointing out to the algorithms that my data warehouse is using for summarization. Algorithm we have means I have promised you to cover those algorithm when I will cover that clustering and classification part. So there you will see the algorithm part, so that details should be there in the metadata repository. Okay, that using this summarization model, using this algorithm, I have come up with this decision. So whatever algorithms I am using. Okay, the mapping from operational environment to the data warehouse, I have told you that during the first step of building this OLTP, or operation online transaction processing. So the first thing is, it is going to fetch the data or required amount of operational data from the data warehouse, and that should be mapped enough. Okay, this portion is being used by this operational database, that portion is going to this operational database is using by this portion, so that mapping should be there in the metadata repository. Data related to system performance, okay, that can be warehouse schema, view and derived definitions, and business data. So these are the contents of the metadata repository. Now we are going to cover a very important topic, that is data cube and OLAP. Okay. So you can see here a data warehouse is based on multi-dimensional data model with views data in the form of a data cube. So we are going to represent my total data OLAP or data warehouse in form of a cube. You will see it is such a beautiful concept. So you can represent any dimension of data. Okay, a data can have any dimension. We were talking of cards of dimensionality and dimensionality reduction and all. So before dimensionality reduction and all, after ultimately we have to represent my data having some dimension. Okay, so using the data cube, you can represent the data in having any dimension. Okay, a data can say to define a data we are using say 20 features. So that data is of 20 dimensions. So using this cube concept, it is very very easy to represent that data using this cube concept. Here we will see two types of table. One is called dimension table and another is called fact table. Okay, my dimension table can be like item or time, right? You can see here item can have item name, brand, type. Okay, so these are the dimension type table. And fact table can is going to contain measures such as dollars sold. Okay, so this kind of data my fact table is going to store, and keys to each of the related dimension table. We will see different kinds of architecture available. Fact table will do what? Ultimately it is going to store actually the key of different dimension table available. Fine. So say if my one of the dimension table is item, and if we just for now just assume item name is my key of that table. Okay, I'm not telling that okay item key name can be a key or cannot be a key. I'm not going to the details of that. I'm just assuming if item name is the key of the item table. Say day is the key of time table. Okay, just assume it. So my fact table is going to consist of these two attributes. One is item name, another is day. So in fact table, so from the fact table we can move to different dimension table. So you will see there are very many kinds of representation possible. Okay, fine. So here data warehousing in data warehousing there you will see an n dimensional base cube. It's called a base cuboid, and whenever we will visit we will see an example of it. There will just you can see the architecture of it. It just follows a hierarchical pattern. The topmost will be called a 0 dimension cuboid. It is the highest level, and it is called the okay, so of the summarization, and it is called the apex cuboid, and the lattice of cuboids forms a data cube. So before understanding all this thing, we will just see an representation, or rather an example. So you can see here before going let us come from the top portion. You can see the first one is zero dimensional, that is apex cuboid, that is the combination of all. Okay, then if we just divide, you can see that it is consisting of individual dimensions, that is individual dimension table. Fine, one table can be say item, another can be time, it can be location, supplier. So you can see it is just one dimension. Okay, it's working with the one table. Now if we just combine two, means this table can interact with my another table, so it will be 2D. Now if we combine 3 at a time, that means if we can combine any two of the previous level, it will become 3D, and base cuboid is going to consist of my all the dimension together. Now it has been shown for 4D, it can extend up to ND. Okay, it can be n dimensional. So if you can represent it using 4 dimension, you can do it for n dimension as well. We will see some cuboid examples. Before that, we will see some conceptual modeling of data warehouse. I was talking of this one, but here I am not going to just see what are the names available: star schema, snowflake schema, and fact constellation. But I will explain you with the examples. Fine. See this one, how star schema works. We were talking of the fact table and the dimension table. Here you can see there are 4 dimensional tables available. Okay, see here, first is time, it is having this much attributes. Another is branch, it has this much of attributes, item and location. Okay, just see the fact table. Now I told you what my fact table is going to hold. It is going to hold some measures, right? Like what are the units sold, what are the dollars sold. That means it is focusing on the sales amount only, and along with those it is going to hold the keys to the other dimension tables. So you can see here what my sales fact table is doing. It is holding the key of the time table, that is time key, then item key, and this on. What is the need of this? You can see here it will make my accessibility very easy, right? Why? Because if we have to ultimately we have to come up with some facts that how many dollars sold for this this month. Okay, so if I have to consider for this month, I can I can see that how many dollars sold for this month, and we have to consult the time table along with it. Sometimes if we focus on the item, that for this item what is my total unit sold value, right? So again we may have to consult the item table. So if we can keep it, is just, you can see it is just working like a index, right? So if we can store some key value in a particular table, according to my requirement I can move to the detailed table or to the dimension table. From there I can fetch my value. Okay, another way of representation, you can see here, it is it's just see the structure is like snowflake. Okay, that is why the name is. Along with the, it is having some fact table. Okay, it is having only remember another thing, if we revisit this one, star schema, you can see here it is having only one fact table and more than one dimension table. Okay, now again if we visit this one, so snowflake schema, again it is having one fact table and any number of dimension table, but here further the dimension tables has been subdivided into some some sub dimension table, we can say, right? So when we are going to use this kind of this kind of database or this kind of architecture, whenever my data huge amount, the amount of data increases, so instead of storing the details of the item in a one table, we are just using another table. If sometimes the details of the supplier is being stored in the, is being separated from the item table, I can maintain it according to my need. So whether I'm going to use snowflake schema or star schema, that will depend on my need. Okay, so I think here there should not be any difficulty in understanding. So snowflake schema is doing what? It is further dividing my dimension table. Okay, and but the fact table is single, only one fact table, and dimension table can be many. Now just see this one, fact constellation. You can see it is just looking like a galaxy. Okay, so here you can see, here instead of only one fact table, we can merge even more than one fact tables. Here we are maintaining two fact tables. One is sales fact table, another is shipping fact table. Okay, now you can see here both the fact tables can share an individual dimension table. Let us say here time key. Okay, so time key of both sales fact table and shipping fact table are using the same dimension table. There can be some separated for dimension table which is dedicated for a particular fact table. There may be there, as for example, say the branch key. Only the sales fact table is using the branch key and it is using the branch dimension table, and shipper dimension table is dedicated for that shipping fact table. Okay, there can be shareable dimension table, there can be separated dimensional table. So it is a much better view. So if we have to maintain the more than one fact tables, we can go for this fact constellation. Fine. So these are the three conceptual views, and let us see one thing, that is conceptual concept hierarchy. You can see if we represent the cuboid in this form, so first one will be my apex or 0D, then 1D, then 2D, and so on. Okay, so this is a concept hierarchy. So we will see some cuboid operations. Before that we will learn this one, data cube measures. I'm not going to details, I'm not going to explain everything in details. There can be many different type of functions. One can be distributive. You can see here distributive means what? This will consist of those kind of functions which can be applied to the total data without partitioning anything. Like I am finding out sum of everything, I am finding out minimum of out of the total data set, I am finding out count of any data set. So you do not have to separate it. Okay, now if we just bound something, say I'm trying to finding out the average of all right. So a particular kind of say I want to find out the average salary of those persons whose salary is can extend up to 50,000. So if we can bound the data to something, that will come under this algebraic part, and it can consist of the minimum out of n variables. It can be average, it can be standard deviation. Okay, and if we form this holistic, that is to define a sub aggregate portion, it can, this kind of function can be there, mean, median, rank, not mean, median, mode, rank, and all. Okay, so these are the measures available, and we are not going to cover this details. Okay, now better see this one, this multidimensional data. Okay, here we will see some cuboid operations in 2 to 3 slides. Here you can see that this data they are using 3 dimension. One is product, another is month, another is region. Okay, so at a time you can see that if we represent any data at any of the portion, so we can find out the 3 dimensions of it. I will rather see an example. You can see here in the product category we have incorporated some products. One is VCR, another is PC, another is TV. Okay, then we are based on the date we have divided the date into 4 quarters, and in the country part we have depicted this Mexico, Canada, and USA. Okay, now you can see here there are some specific areas which is dedicated for some. So now if you just focus in this dark blue area, what you are going to do, we are going to find out the sale of all 3 products in all 4 quarters in all 3 countries. Am I clear? This dark blue area will specify the sale of VCR, PC, TV for USA, Canada, Mexico in all the 4 quarters. Okay, now if we have to find out the sale of TV in first quarter in USA, we are going to focus in this the white box in the leftmost in the top. Okay, so that block is going to come up with the value of those. So here we are going to learn some operations using which it will be easier for you to find out something. So we are going to see those operations to understand this cuboid structure more in a better way. Okay, so here again this whatever the cubes we were talking of, this is a cuboid representation. We have learned how to do it. Okay, now directly move to this one. These are the typical OLAP operations available, that is roll up, drill down, slice, pivot, drill across, drill through. But I am not going to explain this in this slide, rather I will explain it with the help of an example. If you find any difficulty in understanding this one, please pause the video here and zoom it off. Otherwise, without zooming, even you may face difficulty in understanding. Okay, because it is very difficult to take a screenshot of this page and fit it in one page. Fine. So if we just first operation, if we have to see what is roll up or drill up, that means it is a means we have to summarize the data. Just focus on this one here. In the middle we are having one cuboid where there are 4 quarters are there. Time has been divided into 4 quarters: Q1, Q2, Q3 and Q4. I am talking of the cuboid lying in the middle of all. Okay, it has been the location has been divided into 4 parts, that is Vancouver, Toronto, Newark and Chicago. And these items, we are focusing on 3 items. One is home entertainment, second is meant for computer, third is for phone, and 4 is for security. Okay, now if we have to roll up, just see what we are doing here. We are rolling up based on the city attribute. You can see here there were 4 cities. One is Vancouver, Toronto, Newark and Chicago. Okay, now if we have to roll up means what? Instead of focusing on the city, we trying to fetch the value with respect to countries. So without dividing this portion into cities, you can see here instead of 4 places we are just maintaining the data with respect to its respective countries. Okay, that means Newark and Chicago has been added with to find the value of USA. You can see here that for the cuboid which is lying in the middle, Chicago had a value of 440 and Newark had a value of 1560. So if we add these two up and find out the sale of USA for the product, it is going to be 2000. Okay, now if we have to find it out for Canada, that means we have to add up Toronto and Vancouver. That is going to be what? You can see here for quarter 1, right, it is written in the front face. Okay, that is what? 605, and for Toronto it is 395. So if we add it up, it will be 1000. Okay, so in this fashion you can roll it up. Roll it up means to move upper in the hierarchy or to aggregate some value. Okay, drill down means I want to drill down the value, means we have to roll down. Okay, I am going to divide it into further subclasses. Rather say, instead of using quarter, we are going to divide it into months. Okay, so for the first quarter will follow, we'll have January, February, March. Then the second quarter will have April, May, June. Third will have July, August, September. And the last will have October, November and December. Okay, now you can see here for this first quarter, just focus on the middle cuboid. First quarter, my Vancouver had a value of 400. Okay, so if I am drilling it down, I have to find out the report that what was the sale for January, what was the sale for February, what was the sale for March. So it is following somewhat like this: January is having 150, February is having 100 and March is having 150. Just add it up to check it once. 150 plus 100 is 250 plus 150 is 400, so it is matching correctly. Okay, so this is this is an example of drilling down. So we can move upwards, we can move downwards as well. Okay. Next is slice and dice. If we have to say it in the language of relational database, it will be like project and select, project operator and select operator. Okay, let us see slice first. Slice is doing what? You can see here we are taking off a slice out of the total the data available. We are slicing it for Q1. Okay, so if we slice it for Q1, you can see Q1 is holding the value like 605, 825, 14 and 400. So we are slicing it, or we are selecting this. Means we write the query select star from this table where this one. Okay, so for that purpose here where clause is associated with the time, that is where it is Q1. So we are just selecting those value which is meant for Q1. Okay, now dice for means we are projecting something. You can see here dice operation we are focusing on location is Toronto or Vancouver, and time can be Q1 and Q2, Q1 or Q2, and item can be home entertainment or computer. So you can see for Q1 and Q2 for Toronto and Vancouver, that means we are discarding Newark and Chicago, and we are focusing on home entertainment and computer. So you can see here we are just cutting off the you can see from the first 4 blocks, means the block which is having 605, then if we move upwards of the cube, the second block, that is 395, the block adjacent to the right of it, then coming to this one, okay, so home entertainment and computer, it will have one more value. Okay, there is a mistake. This Q1 should have 825 as well with it. So after 605 there should be 825. So it is projecting. It is working fine for dice operation. Okay, so slice and dice are over. Now if we have to find out the pivot, just see we are pivoting on the what we are doing, pivoting in this item types. Okay, item types means what can be the item types? It can be home entertainment, computer, phone and security. So in the 4 countries if you can check it with the original cuboid. For home entertainment, my Vancouver and these 4 cities. So for it had these 4 values, that is 605, 825, 14 and 400. So you can check it off with this. 605 was for home entertainment, then computer was 825, right, phone for 14, and security it is of 400. Okay, and it meant for these 4 cities. So that is all, and these are the OLAP operations available. With this we are going to end up today's lecture, and in the next class we are going to start with the data warehouse design and usage. Thank you.